Welcome to this screencast about differentiated integration into the European Union. In a union characterized by differentiated integration, willing and capable member states can move forward in the integration process, while member states that are not ready or not convinced yet about a common policy are given more flexibility. This flexibility can take different shapes. First, it can mean that some member states simply do not participate in a policy area or project. Second, differentiation can allow member states to approach the commonly agreed target at their own pace, which leads to a multi-speed Europe. Lastly, in some policy areas, the treaties foresee the option for willing member states to voluntarily deepen the cooperation in that specific policy domain. Let's now move to the question, why is differentiation actually necessary or desired? As the EU has expanded its membership, it has become increasingly difficult to reconcile the different interests and political preferences of the various member states and their notions of state sovereignty. The economic and financial crisis, the substantial number of migrants, and the COVID-19 pandemic that all occurred over the past 2 decades exposed further tensions between the member states and produced asymmetrical consequences for them. Heterogeneity among the increased number of member states, along with institutional and legal obstacles within the EU system, made policy making more complex. Where differences between member states led to stalled negotiations, differentiation can serve as an instrument, a tool to accommodate diversity in the EU. Building on this, you might wonder if differentiated integration is a new practice that only occurred due to crises during the last decade. Indeed, it is in the face of the deep crises from the last decade that differentiated integration has increasingly been suggested as a solution. But actually, the EU member states have already made use of the multi-speed variety to facilitate the integration of new member states and policies since the 1990s. In all treaties of the European Union, there were so-called opt-outs for a number of member states. The term opt-out stands for an exceptional arrangement that ensures that when a given member state does not want to take part in a particular field of EU policy, it can opt out and is thus not obliged to abide by a certain European agreement. Member states that are granted an opt-out are often given the opportunity to join the agreement at their own pace, or not to join a certain policy at all. Through this mechanism of differentiation, the member states that are engaged to go further in the integration process are not held back by member states with diverging preferences or capacities. It allows for a multi-layered integration and goes against the idea that the EU has to integrate all united and at the same pace. In a future Europe, differentiated integration might still play an important role. This being said, it is important to note that not all policy fields or agreements can be subject to differentiated integration. Imagine that differentiated integration or an opt-out would be allowed for the core values and principles of the EU, such as non-discrimination, the rule of law, or even democracy. This would soon lead to inequalities amongst member states and undermine the proper functioning of the institutions, which would put the existence of the EU as a whole at risk. Next to opt-outs, there are 2 other elements in the treaties that allow for differentiated integration. These are distinct from opt-outs in the sense that they allow a couple of willing member states to move ahead in a particular field within the EU without all member states being involved. A first procedure of this kind is called enhanced cooperation. Under this procedure, a minimum of 9 EU member states are allowed to set up advanced cooperation when it has become clear that the EU as a whole cannot achieve the goals of such cooperation within a reasonable period. This allows them to move towards different goals, or at different speeds than those member states who decide to stay outside the fields of enhanced cooperation. This procedure is particularly useful when a legislative proposal is blocked by one or more member states who do not want to take part. It does not, however, allow for an extension of powers outside those permitted by the treaties. As of 2013, this procedure is being used in a number of fields. A well-known example is the establishment of the European Public Prosecutor's Office, or EPO, operative since November 2017. This is an independent prosecution office with the power to protect the financial interests of the EU. Together with national authorities competent for tackling such crimes, the EPO will investigate, prosecute, and bring to justice crimes against the EU budgets, such as fraud or money laundering. 22 member states participate in this initiative. PESCO, or Permanent Structured Cooperation, is another cooperation structure foreseen by Article 42, Paragraph 6 of the Treaty on the European Union, this time in the area of security and defense. This article gives the member states the possibility to engage in PESCO collaboration projects. PESCO is open to any member states that has higher capacities and wants to further develop multinational defense capacities. While collaboration between the member states on defense has been conducted in different formats in the past, including joint training and development of military equipment, PESCO has the objective to broaden the scope and focus of such initiatives and to establish a coherent European capability landscape. Currently, there are 25 member states that voluntarily participate in PESCO.